Welcome to the program, everyone. We start with something that is going to be helpful for you because support for the show today comes from ZBiotics. And listen, I only talk about products that I actually use, especially when I know the next morning matters. This one is called pre-alcohol. If you've ever had a night out where you woke up thinking, why did I do that? Well, this is for you. Here's the deal. When you drink, alcohol turns into this toxic byproduct right in your gut, and that's what makes you feel rough the next day. It's not dehydration. It's not the late night fries. It's that byproduct that I told you about. And ZBiotics was created by real PhD scientists to break that stuff down. So you just make it your first drink of the night. That's it. I started using it before dinner's out or when I know I've got an early show the next day. First time I tried it, a couple of glasses of wine, went to bed, woke up feeling like I actually slept. No dragging myself to get coffee or anything like that. No beating myself up for going out. So enjoy the holidays, enjoy the tailgates. Just bring ZBiotics with you. Go to zbiotics.com/lemon and use the code LEMON for 15% off of your first order. They've got a money-back guarantee, so if you don't feel the difference, you get your money back. Again, that's zbiotics.com/lemon, the code LEMON for 15% off. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show, Lemon Live at 5. And what a doozy of a show it's going to be. I'm not sure if you saw what happened in the Oval Office today, but a meltdown pretty much from the President of the United States backpedaling on the Epstein situation, at least pretending that it's all his idea when we know he's backtracking because he's going to get rolled. He has to change the narrative. And then pretending he wants to release all of the files. Well, the interesting part, as we have been saying, is that he can do that at any time. He can just call up and say, release them now. But he's going through this whole thing where he's going to pretend that he can release them. And then legally he'll say, well, I can't do it right now because, you know, it's still under investigation or someone is trying to do this and someone is trying to do that. Also, there's new information on this, you know, the Halligan lady who is Lindsay Halligan. She's a prosecutor now. She's a former White House lawyer, no prosecutorial background, presented the grand jury case for Comey and others, Letitia James and all those. She presented those cases, and then now it appears that that is falling apart because of something that she did not do, because of a pattern of profound investigative missteps. Now, this morning, the show was, hey, MAGA is crashing out. It's unraveling. More evidence of that tonight, and the President of the United States as well appears to be on the same road. Likes, thumbs up, please. Affects the algorithm. More people become aware of our conversation, and we have a great guest tonight that's going to guide us through this. Staff writer at The Atlantic and a contributor to The Atlantic daily newsletter, none other than Mr. Tom Nichols, friend of the show. Tom, good evening. How are you doing?
Good evening, Don. Sorry, good night.
So,
and I brought Lily with me this time.
Oh, great. Okay, I'm not going to let my doggy see Lily because that could be some crazy stuff going on.
Bugging me for treats while we were waiting. So,
let me ask you this: just considering, I'm going to get to the news of the day. Considering what happened over the weekend, you know, the president saying over the weekend, release some of the whatever files that you can legally release, right? Which, you know, I don't know if that means anything, but he had so many defections. The narrative was not, he had to change the narrative because he was going to get rolled. He had too many Republicans who were going to vote with the Democrats. What do you think?
Yeah, well, this is going to be another one of those Trump moments where he says, well, this was all my idea to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever he's losing on something, his response is, well, okay, you know, this was my idea. He has no choice. I mean, he was going to lose on this. And, you know, lose badly. This is something that his base and other Republicans just are not. This is the one issue that seems to matter to them. And I mean, it's a great issue to matter. It should matter to everybody. But, you know, compared to all of the other terrible things he's done, this is the one that seems to break through. And I think finally somebody got to him and said, you're not going to win this one. So you might as well just tell him to release it and then do what you always do, which is to, you know, power through it. And hope it goes away.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he's doing right now. But do you think it's, before I get to the news of the day, because I'm sure people ask you the same thing that they ask me, is this it? I get it all the time. Is this the one thing? Is this the thing that takes him down? Is it over for MAGA? Now, I will tell you, I believe that this and I think I've told this to you before, I think this broke the spell and continues to break the spell, but it's not going to be something dramatic like all of a sudden, quickly he's going to be out of office, because it takes a tide a long time to rise, and then all of a sudden it comes up, the high tide, and then it just washes everything away. But what say you?
Yeah, I agree with you. This is not, people keep looking for the magic solution here, the magic word or the wand wave where Trump says fine and he just kind of leaves office. It doesn't happen that way, especially now that he's not capable of running for a third term. I think what happens is that his power over everybody, the Republicans that are running, that his ability to say, if you piss me off, I will destroy you. I think that really becomes a lot less. And you and I were talking just before the show. A friend of mine told me she went back to her hometown, which is a bright cherry red, MAGA town. And she said it was very interesting that this time around, she hasn't been home in a few months. She said the signs are gone, the hats are gone, the flags are gone. That it's almost like Trump now is just been unpersoned in that sense. In a town that used to have, everybody had yard signs and Trump flags on their cars and all that stuff. And this is just one data point and one anecdote, but she found it kind of striking. And I wonder if that's how it begins. When Trump says, well, I don't like this person or that person. And people go, you know what? I don't really do what you tell me to do anymore, in the way that MAGA world once would say, follow orders.
What's interesting to me, Tom, is that I'm not sure if it was in the chat or if someone said it on the show or someone said it to me personally, but I did hear that, in my town, I don't see the Trump, logos, bumper stickers, yard signs, flags as much as I used to. They're gone. And so it's interesting that you say the same thing. Let me know in the chat if you feel the same way, if you're seeing the same thing in your town. And so you believe that's an indication, huh?
Yeah, and I think, they always knew. I think Trump's supporters, and some of them would admit it to me. They'd say, yeah, we know he lies. Yeah, we know he, cheats, but he does the things we want him to do. He hates the people we hate. But this is different. You can defend almost anything politically. I don't like Ukraine. Tariffs are great. Those are things that if you're an ordinary citizen, you can defend that stuff, pretty much cost-free, right? It doesn't, you may know it's wrong somewhere in your bones, but you're not going to get out there and say, so Jeffrey Epstein was his best friend and he's in these files and, this is all about underage girls. There just comes a moment, and it's been, not that some people aren't going to try. Megyn Kelly, you look back at the way people went to bat for Roy Moore in Alabama. There are going to be people that are going to try and make the case of saying, well, this isn't so bad and he wasn't really involved in it. But this one breaks through because I think one reason is it's not arcane. It's not complex. It's not a budget fight. It's not ask the average person what a tariff is. They can't tell you. They have the same mistaken belief about it that Trump does. But underage girls, pedophilia, people know what that is, and it breaks through. So I think this is the issue where they're not going to dump him. They're not going to, call for his impeachment or anything like that. But his influence, even over his own base, I think is going to be significantly diminished. And then he really becomes, in the true sense, a lame duck.
Okay. So this is Donald Trump today. I told you we'd get to it, Tom. Him being asked if he would sign off on releasing the files. Here it is.
You posted on Truth Social last night. You urged House Republicans to vote in favor of this Epstein release bill they're going to vote on tomorrow. I just want to be super clear on your position. Do you want to see that pass the Senate? Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to. Here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. You look at this Reid Hoffman, you look at Larry Summers, Bill Clinton, they went to his island all the time, and many others, they're all Democrats. All I want for people to recognize the great job that I've done on pricing, on affordability, because we brought prices way down, but they're going way lower.
Affordability. Now, he didn't answer the question, did he?
No. Would you sign this? Well, here's what I do want. Okay, that's not a yes, because anything that's unpleasant to him, he simply will not answer directly. This is an old Trump tactic to start talking about something else. But if you're asked, would you sign the release of information? There's a couple of things I noticed about this. One is, will you sign release of this information? And he goes into this thing about prices.
Mm-hmm.
That, again, MAGA world, one of the things that's always jarring to me is when I talk to people who are Trump supporters, they say, well, I know what he meant. I understood him. This one, you can't parse this one. Will you sign the bill to release the Epstein files? Prices are going down. That one doesn't compute. The other thing is that I felt like I was watching him paint himself into a corner. Epstein was terrible, and all his friends were Democrats. Well, then what were you doing there? You were his best friend.
Well, Tom, wasn't he a Democrat then?
And I thought that. The problem is Trump, wears party affiliations like you and I change socks, but he at some point he was a Democrat. But more to the point, it's like he's painting this picture of this horrible pervert with all these terrible Democrats. Then what were you doing there? Maybe somebody will try and resurrect that story about being an FBI informant or something. But it's a bad look, and I think it's so interesting to think how differently this would have went a year ago if he'd have said, look, the guy and I were friends. I found out what kind of person he was. I kicked him to the curb. I shouldn't have been there. Let's move on. That might have worked. But, as you and I have talked about before, he's acting like a guy who has something to hide.
Something to hide, yeah. 100%. I agree with that 100%. This is him saying that he doesn't want Epstein to distract from the GOP's wins and all of the great work that he's doing. Here it is.
What I just don't want Epstein to do is detract from the great success of the Republican Party, including the fact that the Democrats are totally blamed for the shutdown. They cost our country hundreds of billions of dollars with that, at a lot of inconvenience. So I'm for I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much, because honestly, I don't want to take it away from us. It's really a Democrat problem. The Democrats were Epstein's friends, all of them. And it's a hoax. The whole thing is a hoax. And I don't want to take it away from really the greatness of what the Republican Party has accomplished over the last period of time. Yeah,
Mr. President, on affordability,
the shutdown is now over.
So the Democrats are all, but he's mentioned more times in there than any of the Democrats that we know.
But there's a logical disconnect here, right? This is a Democrat problem. This is bad for the Democrats. Well, you, Mr. President, being the most vindictive person in the history of politics, if this is such a bad thing for the Democrats, why aren't you, launching this and firing it out into the public space to hurt Democrats? I mean, if you're that certain that it's a horrible thing for Democrats, why have you been obstructing it and trying to stop it over and over and over again? It doesn't make any sense, because Donald Trump, by his own admission, is not the kind of guy to say, well, it's bad for the Democrats, but I'm trying to help them out. I don't want to embarrass anybody. If it was that bad for the Democrats, he would have said, called Mike Johnson and John Thune and said, let's get this out there. Let's get it all out in the public space. But once again, he's acting very much like this is not a Democrat problem. This is a Donald Trump problem.
So, but you bring up a very good point there, Tom, because as I said, and as you just said, he doesn't need Congress to do this. He doesn't need, he can just say, do it, and they will do it. But he's not doing that.
Even though he claims that, boy, if this gets out, it's bad for the Democrats. When has Donald Trump ever stood in the way of anything that's bad for his opponents or bad for people he hates?
Right on. He's
Why this?
Yeah. He's calling it a Russia hoax, Tom. Watch.
Unfortunately, like with the Kennedy situation, with the Martin Luther King situation, not to put Jeffrey Epstein in the same category, but no matter what we give, it's never enough. You know, with Kennedy, we gave everything and it wasn't enough. With Martin Luther King, we gave everything and it's never enough. We've already given, I believe the number is 50,000 pages, 50,000 pages. And it's just a Russia hoax as it pertains to the Republicans. Now, I believe that some of the people that we mentioned are being looked at very seriously for their relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, but they were with him all the time. I wasn't at all. And we'll see what happens.
Okay. Wait, go ahead. What were you?
You know, this is where if there were a lawyer there, this is like the scene in Law and Order where the lawyer puts his hand in front of his client and says, all right, stop talking. Yeah. You know, what? Yeah. All right, Jack McCoy, what do you got? What are you offering us?
That's my favorite show, right? That's my favorite show with Jack McCoy. Tom Waters, that's my favorite show. That's my favorite SVU. Not SVU, my favorite Law and Order, I should say.
The Jack McCoy episode. And there's always that moment, right? It's like, the client starts talking too much and the lawyer says, all right, Jack, what are you offering me? And he just can't stop talking. And he just digs deeper and deeper. And again, what could it be? Why this, if it's so bad for everybody else? And the thing about Russia, you brought up Russia, he very successfully he's a master marketer, whatever else you think of him. He's great at marketing. And he comes up with these like slogans so that what he's trying to do is to kind of ping the part of the part of the brain in his supporters that says, right, Russia. It's just like that. Okay. And get that same feeling of this is just a hoax. It's all false. But when you're watching some of Trump's surrogates on television, or if you live a place where you're going to talk to people who are Trump supporters, you can almost see the caloric expenditure, the amount of energy being burned not to think about this. Because I think, again, they know this is bad and it's indefensible. And the president is acting, like a sweaty suspect, at the precinct house.
Did you happen to see the interview? Let me play this. This is Hakeem Jeffries, and then I'll ask you about Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is Hakeem Jeffries reacting to Mike Johnson's comments about the Epstein files, and then I'll get to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Here it is.
Thank you, Leader Jeffries. I wanted to ask, Representative Burchett and Speaker Johnson alleged that Democrats blocked the UC last week to release the Epstein files. Any comment on that? And did Democrats block that unit?
I have no idea what Mike Johnson is talking about. He didn't pick up the phone and call me about a damn thing relative to the Epstein files. This guy has been blocking the release of the Epstein files for 7 or 8 weeks. The House has literally been out of session. Republicans have been on a taxpayer-funded vacation for 7+ weeks, refused to swear in Representative Adelita Grajova. Why did they do that? Because they knew she would trigger an up or down vote on the release of the Epstein files, as she has now done. And we're supposed to believe Mike Johnson's crying wolf now, saying all along it was Republicans who wanted to release the Epstein files? Give me a break. It's not serious. These people are not serious. And we shouldn't tolerate the fact that they continue to lie to the American people on all of the things, on all of the issues. Their lies is what has gotten them in trouble. It's the reason why Republicans were beaten like a piñata on Election Day across America. And why Republicans are going to lose control of the House of Representatives next year, as I predicted earlier this year.
How long is Mike Johnson going to go along with this? Is he going to put his speakership in jeopardy? Because he is still carrying the president's water, Tom and Lily.
How long has he got? There isn't. I mean, is there some point where Mike Johnson says, okay, now I've had enough? Yeah. I think, Mike Johnson's like so many people in Trump's orbit. And I think this is, a secret to Trump's success in the sense of, staying in power and getting things done. He assembles people around him who really have no what's the word I'm looking for? Have no base of achievement in and of themselves. Mike Johnson was unknown to the American people.
Yeah.
He was not, a comer in the leadership. He becomes speaker because it's the only thing Republicans could agree on. And Donald Trump's blessing has made him into a national figure. Other people around him. Bobby Kennedy was never going to be allowed into the United States government. Pete Hegseth was never going to get off of Fox. These people owe Trump everything, so they have to stay with him, is my point, right to the end of this ride. Now, after next November, what Mike Johnson wants or doesn't want might not be very relevant anymore if the Democrats retake the House. But I just don't. I mean, it's just important for these folks to say, look, I wrote a piece where I quoted Stephanie Grisham, remember his previous press secretary, and she has broken with him, but she said, look, who was I? How was I going to end up in the White House? Unless with these folks. And I think that's part of the secret here of how Trump maintains his hold, because without him, they're nothing.
I should have asked you this earlier, but a quick comment, please, if you will, Tom, on Lindsay Halligan, a federal magistrate judge, William Fitzpatrick, said the Comey prosecution showed a disturbing pattern of profound investigative missteps. The judge ordered the Justice Department to hand over normally secret grand jury materials to Comey's defense team, an extraordinary step. These are the major concerns. Prosecutor Lindsay Halligan, a former White House lawyer with no prosecutorial background, presented the grand jury case alone after career prosecutors declined to move forward. Halligan had made fundamental mistakes on the law to the grand jury, including suggesting that they could rely on evidence not actually presented and implying that Comey's silence could be used against him. And there are other missteps as well. So, and the indictment accuses Comey of lying to Congress in 2020 and obstructing a congressional proceeding. But it appears that she's got some issues here.
Well, not a lawyer, but again, Lindsay Halligan, right? Now, if you were someone else with her background, you might say, listen, I'm in the middle of my career. If I become a federal prosecutor, not knowing what I'm doing, I could look like a fool. I could end up messing up my career. I could mess up my life. Trump's people don't do that. Just U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia? Sure, sign me up. The problem is that everybody they're working with, and this is something I brought up the first time when Trump was elected in 2016, everybody these people have to work with are professionals who do know what they're doing. And while it may sound cool to say, well, yesterday I was hawking, pills on Fox, and now I'm a cabinet member. In the end, you actually have to do stuff, and you have to be reasonably competent at it. And it sounds like, again, speaking without being a lawyer, it sounds like, she just didn't know what she was doing, and that there's a whole bunch of process fouls in this whole business. But that's not a surprise, because she wasn't chosen because she's a good lawyer. She was chosen because she'll do what Donald Trump tells her to do. And then for the rest of her life, she can say, I was a federal prosecutor.
She looks like, in that picture I just saw, like a Fox News anchor. You know what I'm saying? Tom Nichols, by the way, just so you know, Tom and others, the judge did not dismiss this case outright. Did not dismiss the case, but warned that the serious procedural flaws called the entire prosecution into question. And Comey's lawyers are arguing that the case is vindictive, politically motivated, and that Halligan's appointment was unlawful. So we'll see what happens. Thank you, Tom Nichols and Lily. Good seeing both of you.
Thanks, Don. Take care.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tom Nichols. I got more. I got more for you to come. First, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Graza. Now, if you have been watching me cook on Instagram, you already know I am a Graza guy. Always fresh, single origin, real olive oil. And look, the holidays are upon us. They're basically here right now. You know you're going to be invited somewhere. You know you're going to need a gift. So don't show up with socks. Bring something that people actually use. and love, and that would be Graza. So bring Graza. Their olive oil is never blended. You can literally see the harvest date on the bottle, and I didn't even know olive oil had a harvest date before Graza. And they have these gift sets to make it that too easy, really. The dinner party pack has a limited edition bottle of wine, cooking oil, finishing oil, a corkscrew, even a bag of olive oil potato chips. It's a whole vibe in a box. Or you can grab the duo gift set, which has a sizzle for cooking and the drizzle for finishing. You can get them in this classic squeeze bottles or in glass. Either way, they look great on your counter and they make your food taste better, period. So head to graza.co/Don. Use the code Don for 10% off of your first order. Try the dinner party pack. Trust me, you're going to keep one for yourself. Graza.co/Don. This show is sponsored by MSI Reproductive Choices, and I want you to listen closely because what they do matters. They provide contraception, safe abortion, and essential reproductive health care in 36 countries. Many of these places have no other provider, not one. This year has been brutal for women and girls in those areas. Funding has dried up. Programs have shut down. Options that were already limited are shrinking even more. But MSI is still there, still doing the work, still showing up. They survived the cuts after the first Trump administration because they saw it coming. They diversified their funding, but they still lost $20 million, $20 million. And yet they're still treating women because donors stepped up, people who refuse to look away, people like you. So if you want to help, keep that going. Here's what you do. You can text LEMON to 511-511 or go to msiunitedstates.org for $65. You can provide contraception for 10 women for an entire year. 10 women, a whole year. That is real impact. So text LEMON to 511-511 or go to msiunitedstates.org and give what you can. Text fees may apply. Okay, I just want to say this to Freddie I guess it's in 9Y. Don't tempt me because I'll show up at your house and we're going to do some cooking. Also, I love the Frizzle says lean to the fat. And then there was a really funny one here. I'm going to tell you why. She says, I meant Graza. That's what Divalicious by you. Do y'all think I don't read these chats? I do. I forget that I'm on here. I was going to say, y'all think I don't be reading these chats, but this is what she originally texted or commented on. Don, can you please record a demo on the Gaza gift set? But then she goes, I meant Graza. I'll check into that. But anyways, thanks to our sponsors. And now let's get back to the program. Okay. So, I like sit here and I think about things and many times instead of having like the mainstream media on in the background, I'll do what Tom was talking about. I'll have Law and Order on and it gives you ideas and your mind clears. And I don't sit in front of the TV all day and just become enraged, right? With I call it rage, outrage porn. That's what I call it. So I'm just going to tell you straight right now. What we witnessed in the Oval Office was not strategy, right? That he was trying to pretend that he was strong or whatever. This wasn't political theater. This was a man who's realizing that he can no longer outrun the truth as he's been dodging for decades. That I talked about this morning when I said it's tapping him on the shoulder. So you saw the clips in the Oval Office, the wandering answers that he doesn't really answer the questions. Those wandering answers of snapping at reporters. You saw him do it last night when he said, who are you? You're with Bloomberg. You are the worst. It's like, why do you have to make yourself, how small can it be or he be that he has to do that? The sudden shift in tone when the topic turned to Epstein, he tried to sound calm. You're right. You saw that, right? He tried to sound like he was in control, like he was leading the moment, when everything in his face really told you the real story. He looked like a man who understood, maybe for the first time, that this time the story is bigger than his spin. And so he is still trying to spin, though, ever the salesman, ever the real estate guy. This is the best view ever that you're going to ever get. And you're like, but I'm looking at an alley. Yeah, but that's New York. That's the kind of thing, if you really live in New York, that's the kind of view. You don't want that other thing. Because here's the real headline that nobody around him wants to admit, at least out loud. In the Epstein documents, The person who shows up the most at this point that we have seen is Donald Trump, other than Epstein himself and probably Ghislaine, but let's say other than those two. The most is Donald Trump. It's not his enemies. It's not the Democrats that like he blamed today. It's not the people he calls corrupt. It's him. So when Donald Trump just sat there in that chair and he declared that he suddenly wants the files released and he insisted that he's a champion of transparency. Now, let me tell you this. Didn't I?
Well, Don appears to be frozen for me.
Stand
and
by,
I believe
Lemon
for all of
Nation.
us.
We will be right back.
Yeah.
We're just going to get Don back up and running. Just give us one moment.
Oh, and now he's gone. So hopefully he's popping back on soon.
Bear
Nice
with us,
end.
everyone. Just some technical gremlins.
Yeah. Got like a members only a look ahead. Hear the producers talk. I don't know what else to do right now. Got that music. Should we play some of that music from? This is what we play when we do the live show in DC and Don's in an elevator. Don's back.
We have Don. He's
What
here.
the heck happened? I was
I don't
on
know.
a
You tell
roll.
us.
I guess someone in the Oval Office said, we can't have him doing this. So I'm back now. Sorry about that. I don't know. Let's see where I was. Anyways, here I am. Here I am to save the day. Okay, great. All right. So I'm sure we lost a lot of folks, but here back. So I'm back. Okay. So look, I told you guys I can pick up exactly where I left off. I told you guys that Donald Trump and Caroline Leavitt was going to come up with this whole transparency thing. Didn't I tell you that when I was just sort of playing a role playing with how they were going to do it, and her in the Oval Office saying we're the most transparent administration, blah blah blah, and that's exactly what he's trying to do right now. So he insisted that he is this champion of transparency when he pretended that he was calling for the truth all along. That wasn't him being confident. That was him because he had to relent. He has to change the narrative for himself because he is losing too many Republicans who are going to vote for this. That is desperation. He saw Republicans breaking away from him on Capitol Hill. So this is someone who knows he doesn't have the votes to block documents. He knows that. He can't do that anymore. A man who understands that the daylight is coming, whether he likes it or not. The daylight is coming. He doesn't have the votes to do it. So it would be up to him just to veto it and say, this is not happening. But I think that they would have a veto-proof majority. And so it wouldn't matter if he has the veto power at all. So he knows he was going to get rolled and it was going to make him look weak. And everything he did in that interview that you saw in the Oval Office today that he just lost his mind on, every single thing you saw was an attempt to get ahead of that daylight. Now, okay, so I talked to Tom. We'll get back to that. I talked to Tom about Lindsay Halligan because that Halligan indictment is not a footnote, everyone. That's very important. It's not a side story. It's not something that you can really brush aside. This is a woman who worked directly in Donald Trump's orbit. She was a part of the effort to get James Comey, right? To go after James Comey. And now prosecutors are admitting that they didn't verify key evidence. They admitted that they rushed ahead. They admit that messages were set to auto delete, all that stuff. The judges are openly angry. You heard me earlier saying, they said that these possible errors, as it says on the screen, by Lindsay Halligan could imperil the entire Comey case. Didn't throw it out, but said, look, this puts this in jeopardy. So the judges are openly angry. The legal experts are calling this nothing less than a disaster. So this is of Donald Trump's own making. This is the machinery Trump built. This is a way that he uses power. This is how far he will go to punish anyone who he believes has crossed him. And when the people who helped him do it start getting indicted, you're going to see the panic moving up the chain. Halligan is not the end of anything. She's just the beginning here. Because this could be prosecutorial misconduct. She could face that. So she could be the first thread you pull on when you want to see how far the fabric unravels here. So make no mistake about this, Donald Trump knew that. And he knows all of these things, and he could feel it in the Oval Office today. You could feel it. He kept trying to shift the blame, shift the focus, shift the entire story onto the Democrats. Last night, he tried to do it onto the Democrats. Then he also tried to do it onto his supporters and the American people by saying, we have nothing to hide. And most Americans are looking at themselves going, yeah, I know I don't have anything to hide, but what about you, bruh? But he's trying to get people, we have nothing to hide. He wants to make this your problem. And then he also wants to make it now the Democrats' problem. He said that they were trying to distract from their failures. He said that they were trying to embarrass him, that it was a political hit job, Russia, 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 Russia. But the truth that Donald Trump doesn't want to face is that Donald Trump, the Democrats didn't tell you to hang out with Jeffrey Epstein. The Democrats didn't tell you to hang out allegedly in the emails with one of the girls at his house for hours. Like, Democrats didn't tell you to do that. Democrats didn't tell you to invite him to your wedding. Democrats didn't tell you to invite him to your parties. Democrats didn't tell you to hang out with him. They didn't tell you any of that. The Democrats did not tell Lindsay Halligan to set her messages to auto-delete. The Democrats did not instruct prosecutors to skip basic verification. The Democrats didn't lie to the judges. They didn't build these cases that appear to be corrupt. They didn't put Trump's name all over the Epstein files. The Democrats didn't do that. That was you. And this is your mess. This is your circle. These are your choices. They're your consequences. And that's why Republicans are jumping ship right now, like the water's coming in, like rats. That's why the defections are piling up. That's why the votes are not lining up for Donald Trump anymore. Because the one thing that politicians cannot survive is proximity to a scandal that even they can't explain. If they can't explain, look, if it's your own scandal, you're like, all right, this is a scandal of my own making. Okay. But somebody else's scandal that you're going to go down for? No. And right now, every Republican in Congress knows the same thing that you and I know, that the documents tell a story and that the story does not point away from you know who, from Donald Trump. It points straight at him. And he knows it. And so I told you we were going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. But in a strange way, you're going to go, wait, where's he going with this? And that brings us to Megyn Kelly. All right, go with me here, because let me be very clear. By the way, it was a very bad week for her. Tune in at 8 o'clock. We're going to bring you through all that. And this is before we even knew about this thing that I'm going to tell you about. Now, let me be very clear. She did not suddenly turn into a truth teller. She did not suddenly find moral courage. She did not suddenly become some beacon of integrity. I'm talking about Megyn Kelly. And then some people are saying the same thing about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I digress. So Megyn Kelly went after Marjorie Taylor Greene today for one reason, and that's because she sees the movement cracking and she doesn't want to be caught holding the pieces. So this was not some righteous thing by either of them. We'll see with Marjorie Taylor Greene. We'll see. It was self-preservation, optics, brand management. So she looked at the meltdown in the Oval Office. She looked at the defection. She looked at the headlines. She looked at the Halligan indictment. She looked at the panic building on the right. And she said to herself, well, no, I'm not going down with this shit. I gotta do something because, you know, I've tied myself to Donald Trump. You guys are like, is he talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene? Is he talking about Megyn Kelly? I'm talking about Megyn Kelly right now because she tied herself. She hitched herself to this wagon, even after he said the most vile things about her, blood coming out of her, wherever. So she goes on because she has to do it. So she dragged Marjorie Taylor Greene to create distance. So that's all that it was. And that's why I'm going to play that for you in a bit. That's why this matters, because when even she is stepping back, you know the movement is fracturing from the inside. Loyalty is wearing thin. The fear in this party is shifting directions. They no longer fear crossing Trump. People used to be afraid to cross Donald Trump. Even recently, you can say, everyone asks, why are people so afraid of Donald Trump? I'm like, I do not know. I don't get it. But they are no longer afraid of crossing Donald Trump. I think a lot of people fear standing too close to him right now. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene does. So back to the Oval Office meltdown, because that moment was the clearest sign of all, I believe. Before I get to this stuff about Marjorie Taylor Greene and Megyn Kelly, you're going to hear all of it. Trump was flustered, rattled. His answers were all over the place. Tried to claim that he wanted transparency. It told you, most transparent. I've ordered them to release this number. I said it almost verbatim. And it came out of his mouth days or if not hours later. I can't remember if it was, I did it last week. I probably did it both of it. And this morning. He tried to pretend that he had always wanted the files out there. If he always wanted the files out there, then why was he strong-arming people in his administration, allegedly, reportedly, not to sign off on that? Republicans. So he tried to rewrite history while sitting in that chair where history always catches up. Blamed everyone but himself. Democrats are weaponizing the documents. Democrats are lying about what's in the documents. Democrats are trying to smear him. None of that was created by the Democrats, as I said. It is what it is. That's one of my mom's clearest saying. Anytime that there's anything, any advice that she needs to give me, if I'm going through something, she goes, hey, baby, it is what it is. The documents are what they are. It is what it is. The references are what they are. His name appears where it appears. Hundreds, if not thousands of times. At least more than 1,000, reportedly. Closing in on 2,000, reportedly. And they're not done yet, so it could be more than that. The facts don't care about his performance. So Republicans, all the folks who've been with him for years, are finally realizing that they just can't spin this away, that they can't really just distract from this, that they cannot pretend that it is someone else's scandal. His name is in the files. His allies are indicted. His meltdown was public. His narrative is now collapsing. So, okay, so this is not the end. I keep telling you guys that, but this is the beginning of the part that he cannot stop. Are you listening to me? Because when I'm going to say, do you guys remember when I said this is not the end, but it is the beginning of the part that he cannot stop. It is the beginning of being a lame duck. It's the beginning of diminished power. It's the beginning of, I shouldn't even say vulnerability, that he's mortal and that he can't just let everything slide off like Teflon because the things are starting to stick. So look, you remember a Teflon pan, right? You can still, it's like metal sometimes. If it doesn't stay, if it's something that you can't wipe off, the truth is like a magnet. Clung! Doesn't care if it's Teflon in that pan and that metal pan, that magnet's gonna stay. You can't wash it off like you do other stuff that'll just slide off of Teflon. This is the part where the story stops bending to Donald Trump and he's going to keep trying to shape reality. That's going to stop. This is a part where people stop protecting him, where the conservative media starts positioning, mark my words, for life after him. The part where lawmakers look at their own careers before they look at his. Where the truth starts speaking louder than distractions and deflections and excuses. So you want to know how Donald Trump really felt in that room today? Just look at his eyes. Did you hear his voice? Listen to his voice. Watch his shoulders. Not a man in charge. Not someone dictating the moment. Someone trying to escape the moment. He knows what's coming. He knew what was coming. He knew that the votes were gone. He knew that the defections were real. He knows that the Halligan indictment is a disaster today. He knows that Megyn Kelly wondering if why he didn't release the files, or Megyn Kelly turning on Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of that. He knew, and he knows that Marjorie Taylor Greene was a warning. That is a warning sign. These files are moving whether he wanted them to or not. And he knows the truth is bigger than his spin. His own history is finally catching up to him. This meltdown today was not a show of strength. It was the closest Donald Trump has ever come to saying out loud that he is afraid. As I've been telling you, he's not afraid of the Democrats. He's not afraid of the media. He's not afraid of political enemies. Not at all. He's afraid of the truth in those files. Afraid of what they say. Afraid of why his name is there. Of the daylight coming through the cracks. He's afraid of what happens when people stop believing the story that he has sold for such a long time. So after watching that interview today, the spin fail, watching the panic rise, watching the excuses crumble, watching his body language, I will tell you what I believe. He's not really afraid of losing power. He's afraid of losing control of this story. And that moment arrived today, and he could feel it. This is no longer Donald Trump's story. This is your story. The truth is no longer his to shape. The future is no longer his to decide. So whether he wants to admit it or not, whether the MAGA brain folks, the diehards, the followers want to admit it or not, whether his allies can bring themselves to accept it or not, the moment we saw today was the turning point. USA. That was a turning point. You don't have to take my word for it. Just look at him. Just go back and listen to him. Watch how hard he fought to pretend none of this is real. And like when I said go back and listen to him and watch it, what does my friend Rachel Maddow say? Watch what they say. Watch what they do, not what they say. Watch both. Watch both. Deep down, he knows. And he always knew. And so do we. Word from our sponsors. Support for the show comes from Ollie. And you already know how I feel about my dogs. I would do anything for them. And anyone who's met Boomer knows that he's a picky one. That dog will sniff something. He'll look at me like he's judging my life choices, and then he'll just walk right away from the bowl or whatever it is I'm trying to feed him. So when even Boomer gets excited for dinner, I know the food is legit. That's why I switched to Ollie. They make fresh, real human grade meals, protein packed, slow cooked, and you can see the difference when you open the box. It smells like actual food because it is real food. Ollie also gives you a 30-second quiz so you can personalize your dog's plan. And the app lets you talk to real experts if you ever have questions. So I love that part. Since I switched, their coats look better. They have more energy, and Boomer actually finishes his bowl. That never used to happen. So your dog's well-being starts with their food. So go to ollie.com/lemon, tell them about your dog, and use the code LEMON for 60% off of your first box. They even have a happiness guarantee. So if your dog doesn't love it, you're going to get your money back. That's OLLIE.com/lemon, OLLIE.com/lemon. Support for the show comes from Beam. And let me give you the headline up front. Their cyber sale is live right now, and this is the best offer you're going to get all year. My listeners can get up to 50% off with code LEMON. You can grab Dream for just $32.50. That's $1.08 a night for real sleep. If you've watched this show for any amount of time, you know that I take sleep very seriously. When I'm tired, everyone can tell. I'm foggy, I'm cranky, and no one wants to be around me. So when I found Dream, I stuck with it. Dream has magnesium L-theanine, melatonin, apigenin, reishi, all clean ingredients that help you fall asleep fast and stay asleep. And the taste is legitimately good. My favorite flavor is the brownie batter one. It's like having dessert that knocks you out in the best way. So I've been using it for months, and I wake up feeling rested, clear, ready for the day. 19 million nights of improved sleep across the country. That's not a small sample size. So go to shopbeam.com/lemon and use the code LEMON and get up to 50% off during the cyber sale. Dream at this price, it's going to sell out. So you better go now. Thanks to our sponsors. Thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Okay, back to the program now. So before I get to what the Megyn Kelly of it all of this stuff, I want you to hear. Now, this is Marjorie Taylor. First of all, let me play and get me Donald Trump from when he criticizes Marjorie Taylor Greene, because he was asked, I think it was like, on the tarmac and near, when he does the chopper talk or whatever, near I don't know if it was Marine One or where they were. However, he was asked about Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then he called her a traitor. I think he also posted about her. But first, Donald Trump, you're going to hear from Marjorie Taylor Greene, and you're going to hear from Megyn Kelly. Here's Donald Trump.
Her life could be at danger because of the rhetoric.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, she says.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
Okay, so that was him talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene, because she believes that she has said that it's put her life in danger. At least that's what the reporters think. And now Marjorie Taylor Greene was on, Trump also tweeted, Marjorie Taylor Greene attacks are leading to, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene doing this. Wait, first Trump attacks Marjorie Taylor Greene again. Okay, so that's what he posted. You can put that up. And that was her, Marjorie Taylor Greene, brown. Remember, green turns to brown where there is rot, blah, 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 blah. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted back saying, I need my glasses. That's not what she says. She says, I am now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety, as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world. Well, Marjorie Taylor Greene, welcome to the arena. Welcome to the show, Marjorie Taylor Greene. That has been happening to people for years, almost 10 years now. Ask my former colleagues at CNN when someone sent pipe bombs to our building. Ask me about the time I had to run out of the studio in the middle of a broadcast because of threats from Trump supporters, or the number of times that people called CNN and said that they wanted to unalive me. Ended up being prosecuted. I still get letters letting me know they're in this prison, they're in this jail, they've been moved here, they're now up for parole. Or about the time that I had to have so much security installed in my house, I was afraid to even walk around with my shirt off for all the cameras. So Marjorie, I'm not happy this is happening to you, but I'm glad that you finally understand how dangerous Donald Trump's rhetoric is, which you repeated many, many, many times. So now you get it. And I hope your colleagues start to get it. Or when I had to, Tim and I would walk to the grocery store and there would be security guards. I was like, do I need a fucking security guard in the grocery store? Yes, I did. So Marjorie, now you know. I'm not happy this is happening to you. It should not happen. But at least now you understand the danger of this kind of rhetoric. So now you know. So here is Marjorie Taylor Greene responding about how dangerous this is and the president attacking her.
The president says he's withdrawing support for you, encouraging primary challengers. You were one of his biggest supporters. What do you think happened here?
Well, Dana, thank you for having me on, and that is true. I stood with President Trump when virtually no one else did. Campaigned all over the country, spent millions of my own dollars helping him get elected. And I think that's incredibly important. And I do support him and his administration. And I support them in delivering the campaign promises we made to the American people. His remarks, of course, have been hurtful. However, I have something in my heart that I think is incredibly important for our country. And that is to end the toxic fighting in politics. And this has been going on for years, and it has divided our country, split up friends and families, neighbors, and it's not solving our problems. The most hurtful thing he said, which is absolutely untrue, is he called me a traitor, and that is so extremely wrong.
Okay.
And those are the types of words.
Enough. Okay. All right. You got. Look, I really hope that she has had a change of heart. I really do. But again, when I see it in action, then I will believe it. I am willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. I am willing to do that. But I don't know. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene being asked about some of the very same things that I just mentioned, and that we have been saying for at least 10 years now, when Donald Trump came down that escalator in 2015. And he said he was going to run for president in 2016, for the 2016 election cycle. It was 10 years. I think it was July of 15. The same shit that we have been saying about Donald Trump's dangerous rhetoric and the way he conducts himself, and that you mimicked. My friend Dana Bash asked her about that. Watch.
You posted on X that President Trump is, with his comments, fueling a, quote, hotbed of threats against you. Obviously, any threats to your safety are completely unacceptable. But we have seen these kinds of attacks or criticism from the president at other people. It's not new. And with respect, I haven't heard you speak out about it until it was directed at you.
Dana, I think that's fair criticism. And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another, and we need to figure out a new path forward that is focused on the American people, because as Americans, no matter what side of the aisle we're on, we have far more in common than we have differences. Yeah. And we need to be able to respect each other with our disagreements. So
now you guys tell me what you think. Do you believe it? What do you think? Do you believe it? Now, I don't know if Megyn Kelly believes it. I don't think that she does, but here she is.
She and Trump are fighting ugly. He calls her Marjorie Trader Green now. She's saying that these comments are endangering her life. And she did a thing that no conservative should do. I mean, truly just, it shouldn't be done. She went on CNN to rip on Trump slash, not other Republicans, but Trump. Ben Shapiro did it the other day too and got all sorts of blowback for it. Like, Republicans don't want to see their people on CNN. It's one thing if you're Scott Jennings and you're taking on a table of Democrats fighting for Trump, but it's another to see like you go into the den of the enemy and start bashing your own team. So, and MTG is not dumb. So she did that for a reason. I don't totally understand it yet, but maybe it'll become clear.
Okay, so she's bashing Marjorie Taylor Greene there. But let me just say something, all right? What is today's date? Today is Monday, November 17th, 2025. I agree with Megyn Kelly. I do, because I work there. And no matter how many times they said, we need to bring on more Republicans. We need to open the door for this person. We need to do this. We need to do that. It never, ever, 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 ever worked. It doesn't work. Unless you are 100% committed to right-wing politics and you move so far, it's never going to happen. All you end up doing is turning off your core audience. They don't know who you are, and then they start tuning out. So that, and I know that that doesn't work. So for them, I'm saying that because they know that they don't want to watch CNN because they hate it. They hate CNN because they think CNN is like this liberal thing, and they're not as, far of a, I don't think that CNN is that liberal. I know that they're not liberal. They're certainly not liberal now. When I worked there, I didn't think it was liberal. I thought it was about the truth and holding power to account. But let me just say that I agree with Megyn Kelly. They don't want to see, MAGA does not want to see someone going into enemy territory, whether it's MSNBC or CNN or wherever, and talking shit about Trump. They just don't want to see it. And if that's even if they're watching. So the thing is that I think maybe what Megyn doesn't understand is that the audience, they're not trying to appeal to the Trumpsters. Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer trying to appeal to the Trumpsters. So this is where Megyn and I disagree. So is it smart for them to go on? I think it is, because they're trying to open the tent, right? Bring in some new people, bring in a new audience. And that's the audience they're trying to bring in because they're trying to moderate right now. So it's funny, like when the networks try to move to the right and then all the folks on the right now are trying to move to the left. Ain't that some shit? I mean, the pendulum always swings. It's some weird shit that happens. This is some weird shit that is happening. Now, again, I'm going to tell you, I will give people the benefit of the doubt. Marjorie Taylor Greene, I give you the benefit of the doubt. But until I start seeing it in action, until I start seeing it in action, then I'll believe it. What you do speaks so loudly that I cannot hear what you say. So you're saying a lot, but your words and your actions. So again, you said all the right things there. I'm sorry. I was part of this. I was part of that. I'm learning, all that stuff. Great. I hope that's true, because then that will help other people do it if it's real. Now, you guys tell me if you think it's real. Now, I think it's right now it's a political strategy, and, I just do. And for her, again, as Dana so deftly pointed out, smartly pointed out, is that you didn't care about political violence until the possibility happened to you. When for years people have been saying, hey, look, these MAGA folks, I'm scared. They're coming after us. No matter how many times they sent, explosives and things to different news organizations or to people or threaten people. Not a word until it starts to happen to you. And then you understand. I'm not done yet. Because in all this chaos, I want to tell you about why we have a new health partner. I want to talk to you about something that really matters, especially if you are 64 years old or older. It's Medicare annual enrollment season. And this is a time to pay attention, everyone. I just went through it with my mom, and perhaps you have been there too, sitting at the kitchen table, buried in paperwork, trying to make sense of it all. Plans have changed. Some were even canceled. And get this, according to the Wall Street Journal, if you're not careful, you could end up paying more, even lose coverage for your doctor, for the doctor that you trust. So pay attention. That's why I am telling you about Chapter. Chapter is the Don Lemon Show Network's new health partner. They review every plan nationwide to find out what's best for you, not what makes them money. Their help is 100% free. It takes about 20 minutes, and on average, people save around $1,100 a year. So don't wait. Call Chapter at 212-931-0855 before December 7th and make sure you and your family are protected. Want to make sure that you and your family are protected. So everyone, someone just, oh man, I just got away. Someone said that Marjorie Taylor Greene is moving to the left because Georgia is moving to the left. What do y'all know about that? Georgia? Maybe. But Georgia always pretty much goes red. Okay, everyone. Are you guys ready for our members only? We have a members only coming up now. Are we ready for the members only? By the way, do we have picks, Andy?
Yeah, we have some from this morning that we did not do.
Okay, first of all, let's show them. I just put up the website. I'm going to show that if you are Don Lemon stan, Don Lemon Show stan, all you have to do is go to donlemon.com. Can you believe that? donlemon.com. And if you click on watch, I'm going to go through this every day until you get it. If you click on watch, you can go right there and you can subscribe and you can join. Also, there's a subscribe button right at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. That's how we stay viable. You can click on that. Subscriptions are free. Memberships are very reasonable, okay? And that's, people was like, yes, we have to, because we don't have the corporate sponsors. Why do you think they run commercials on mainstream television? It's just so that they can pay the bills. And so we don't run those commercials. We have ads and we have sponsors. We have sponsors, people who sponsor our programs so that we can, be able to afford to bring you this. Employees, insurance, all of those things, equipment, all kinds of things. So we have to do, we rely on your generosity. Okay. And then you can go to our merch store if you go back to donlemon.com. And this is our merch store. We have some new stuff. Someone's asking about a long sleeve black. We have a long sleeve black sort of, I think Nikki was one of the producers. There's a long sleeve black sort of sweatshirt thing. And then we have, there it is. And then we have a long sleeve white shirt that is new. And some winter stuff, and the Christmas stuff will be here soon. So if you are a Don Lemon Show person and you buy some of this stuff, our merch, we will put your pictures up. Just send it to us at the Don Lemon Show at gmail.com. And we will put your photographs up like these lemon heads. Oh, who's this?
This is Candace from Maryland.
Candace, I love it. I think she's wearing the long sleeve sweatshirt, right? Beautiful, and it looks great on you. Black is a good color for you. Thank you, Candace.
We have 3 photos from Tracy and Chewbacca.
Chewbacca's wearing the doggy bandana. Nice. Then it says the Don Lemon Show and the Lemon Live. Thank you. This is Tracy, right? And yep. Chewbacca. Hey, Chewbacca. Georgia. Cutie in Georgia, down in Georgia. Beautiful doggy, beautiful lady. Oh my gosh. Is that a yawn? Looks like it. Or maybe a bark. I don't know. Looks more like a yawn to me. Chewbacca. Anything else? Is that it?
We have one video that just came in of Triana's daughter watching you, Don.
Amazing.
Brought to you by Radioactive Music, audio marketing experts.
What happened? If you were sitting in front of him, baby, he would listen to you, but he's on the TV, and we like watching it.
You like watching Don Lemon?
You like watching them? Yeah. What?
That was Tatum.
Tatum. Oh my gosh, you're gorgeous. I love you. I can't watch me either. Thank you, Tatum. She's beautiful. What a cutie. Thank you guys for sending that. Thank you for your support. I love when the kids are watching. Okay, so we have our, if you're at a certain tier of our membership, we have a private stream that we do for our members. And one of those is about to happen like right now. So be informed without being inundated. Until I see you back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern time. That's, I'm going to see the folks in the private stream, the members who are at the certain tiers, they can get there. And then make sure you check out what we drop at 8 o'clock. We're going to talk about the hell of a week that was and that is coming up for Megyn Kelly. Okay? So we'll see you back here tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern time for most of you. So until then, be informed without being inundated and turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.